wanted to come on here and talk about one of the big issues with the carnivore diet. And it's something I've suffered with in the past. Actually, I had a really bad episode about a week and a half ago, and that's diarrhea. The thing is with diarrhea, you know, people have different experiences with it. Some people have it really bad. I mean, I've read stories about people having diarrhea like constantly for months, if not years. And I'm just like, I don't want to live on a toilet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be on the toilet all the time. And that was another reason I wanted to do the carnivore diet, because like they talk about, oh, well, you're not going to be on the toilet all the time. You're not going to be taking dumps all the time. All the stuff you eat, most of it's just going to absorb in your body and you're going to be fine. But I've had some really bad issues with it in the past. In 2023, I started doing the carnivore diet. First 2 weeks went great. I mean, they were awesome. I felt better. A lot of the inflammation, especially in my knees and my shoulders, was gone. I mean, I felt great. Within 2 weeks, I was feeling really sick. And I thought, you know, it was September. It's like, oh, maybe it's getting colder. Maybe I just am getting the flu or something. Or maybe I just got food poisoning. And my first episode happened 2 weeks in. And at the time, I was 99% carnivore. The only thing I was eating that wasn't animal-based was in the evenings, I would have a scoop of peanut butter because I was having really bad sweet cravings, like really bad. So I would do that. But besides that, I mean, it was strict carnivore. And 2 weeks in, I got real sick. I was sick for a couple days, and I thought, it's just food poisoning. You know, I'll be fine. Well, it was about a week and a half later, I got sick again. And this time, I couldn't keep nothing down. Like, I would try to drink water. I couldn't do nothing. And I stayed in bed for like a day and a half. Like, I felt miserable. I really did. And eventually my wife talked me into going to the hospital. And of course I kept saying, no, I'll be fine. Well, it's a good thing I went to the hospital, because it turns out my appendix burst and I had to do emergency surgery. Like, I legit could have died. The doctor said if I had waited a day or two longer, I would have died. And it was that bad. And, you know, I spent a week. I was only supposed to be in the hospital like 3 days. I spent a week, you know, because my blood sugar was so high from the surgery and everything. And it was just a miserable, you know, time in my life. Like, they had put a tube in my stomach and I had to keep that in for like a week and go home, and it was draining out. Like, it was bad. I mean, it sucked. And, you know, after that, I was scared to do the carnivore diet again. I was like, man, I ain't doing this shit. There's no way. I'm not doing this. I can't. Like, last year I kept trying different diet ideas. You know, I went plant-based back in 2017 to 2019 for 2 years, and honestly, yeah, I've never been the same since, and it's not a good thing. It's a very bad thing. I'll get into that story later on. I kept trying to like think of things like, well, maybe if I do this or do that, maybe if I mix up the plant-based diet with the carnivore diet, but don't go strictly plant-based or strictly. I tried different things. Nothing really worked. And it wasn't until the end of last year that I really thought about doing carnivore again. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. I really, you hear all the stories about people reversing type 2 diabetes and all that. I'm like, I'm ready to give it a shot. And, you know, so far this year, I mean, I've been going, this is day 41. Felt a lot better. It's gone. The process has been so much better. But the issue with diarrhea. Now, when I did it the first time, I had issues. This time, it's not been as bad as the first time I tried carnivore. This time, I think what I did the best, though, I've cut almost everything out. Like, and I've noticed, even with spices, I mean, spices can cause diarrhea. I made what I call carnivore chili. It was like a week and a half ago. And what I'd put in it is I just do meat and bacon and broth. That's all I do. And of course I have seasonings and stuff. Well, one of the things I had tried, and this is probably the third time I've made it since I've been on the carnivore diet, is I used red pepper flakes. And I didn't think nothing of it. I'm like, oh, I'll just use some of that. It's fine, you know, because I like my stuff spicy. And that's been the big thing about this time on the carnivore diet. When I did it the first time, I used a lot of like hot sauce and stuff, but this time I really haven't. And one, I think that's a reason my stomach hasn't been so messed up. But the other thing is, using that little bit of red peppers, I had diarrhea so bad for 3 days straight. I mean, it was bad. Like, it was to the point I was legit almost in tears because it was just such a pain in the ass. But it was miserable. It really was. But besides that, I've noticed, like with hamburger meat, if I drain my hamburger meat, I don't really have any problems. But like, I was trying to figure out what the problems were, because something was like there, I'd get diarrhea here or there, and it's like, what am I eating that is causing this? And a lot of people, you know, may have the same problem. It's fat. I mean, if you're eating too much fat in your diet, that can really cause diarrhea. Some people, if you're not eating enough fat, it will cause diarrhea. So it's one of those things. I can't sit here and give you the answer because, I mean, there's a lot of people that just go online and look for the answers for this. What I can tell you to do is, if you are doing the carnivore diet, watch everything you use, especially spices. Because you're thinking, oh, I use a little spice here or there. Watch what you're using, because once all that episode happened a couple weeks ago, I went back to just using salt and pepper. That was it. That's all I've used since then. And I've really had no issues. Now, once in a while, I'll have coffee with like some heavy whipped cream. And sometimes that'll give me a little diarrhea. But usually, since I went back to salt and just pepper on all my food, I've done so much better. My stomach's done so much better. So, I mean, it really, you got to kind of explore, you got to kind of experiment. And that's how you figure out like what's causing diarrhea and whatnot. And that's what's really helped me is figuring everything out that way. Just start fresh. If you're brand new to the carnivore diet, I know a lot of times they're like, oh, don't start. You know, you got to slowly just cut it all out one day. Cut everything out, start fresh. All right, just make some meat, put some salt and pepper on it. You know, go from there and keep doing that. And if you're getting diarrhea, maybe you're not eating enough fat. Maybe you need to add some butter to your diet. If you're getting diarrhea without that, maybe you're eating too much fat. I mean, it really comes down to everything, because when you cut everything out like that, you can really tell what really affects you. And that has helped me out so much with this diet. And ever since that, I'm not going to add anything. Like, I'm going to stick with salt and pepper, and hopefully that fixes the problem. And so far, it pretty much has. But like I said, there's certain things that still do kind of set my stomach off, but not like that, because that was just miserable. And people that deal with this for years and they don't fix the problem, and they talk about how they have explosive diarrhea for months and years and it never changes. I'm just like, you got to do something. You can't live like that. You can't live on the toilet the rest of your life. So, but bottom line is this: if you're somebody dealing with diarrhea and you don't know what the problem is, look into spices, look into how much fat content you're putting in your body, whether it's too much, not enough. And those are the big things. Try not to snack too much, you know, just watch everything you're putting in your body. Because like me, pork doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really mess with me. I can eat bacon all day. I can eat, you know, sausages. That really doesn't mess up my stomach. But if I add in some hot sauce, I add in some certain seasonings, I add in some red pepper flakes, sets my stomach off. So that's the big thing. If you're looking for reasons why you're having diarrhea issues, look at the spices, look at the fat content, and try to figure it out. And if you're one of those people out there that's living with this, like constant diarrhea for years or months, I don't know what to tell you. you're braver than me, because I couldn't do it. So but yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that, because I know a lot of people are looking into that. So that's where I would start. I would start with like what spices you're using, what fats you're eating, if you're getting enough fat, if you're eating too much fat. I think if you fix those problems, you're gonna fix the diarrhea problem. So thank you guys for watching, and yeah, there you go.